Helena Petrovna Blavatsky revolutionized Western understanding of the afterlife with teachings that challenged conventional religious doctrine and introduced ancient wisdom to modern minds. According to her extensive study of esoteric traditions from Tibet, India, and Egypt, the soul's journey between incarnations is far more complex and purposeful than most spiritual systems acknowledge. Blavatsky taught that death is merely a transition, not an ending. When the physical body ceases to function, consciousness doesn't simply ascend to heaven or descend to hell. Instead, it begins a carefully orchestrated journey through multiple planes of existence, each serving specific purposes in the soul's evolution. This process, she explained, follows universal laws as precise as any physical science. The first destination after leaving the physical realm is what Blavatsky called the Kama-Loka, or desire realm. This isn't a place of punishment, but rather a necessary purification process, where the recently departed soul releases its attachment to earthly desires and emotions. The duration of this stage varies dramatically, based on how deeply the person was attached to material pleasures, emotional dramas, and worldly concerns during their lifetime. Those who lived primarily for sensual gratification, accumulation of wealth, or intense emotional attachments may spend considerable time in Kama-Loka, gradually learning to release these binding forces. Conversely, individuals who cultivated spiritual awareness and practiced detachment during life pass through this realm more swiftly. The process is neither punitive nor arbitrary. It's the natural consequence of consciousness adjusting to non-physical existence. Blavatsky emphasized that understanding this initial transition can profoundly influence how we approach our current incarnation. Every attachment we release voluntarily in life is one less chain binding us in the afterlife. Every moment of spiritual practice, meditation, or selfless service accelerates our journey through the intermediate states toward higher realms of existence. Chapter 2. Beyond Kama-Loka lies what Blavatsky described as Devachan, a Sanskrit term meaning the place of the gods. This represents the soul's true resting place between incarnations, where consciousness experiences the fruits of its positive karma from the previous lifetime. Devachan is not a single location, but rather a state of being perfectly suited to each individual soul's level of development and spiritual needs. In Devachan, the soul exists in a state of blissful contemplation and rest. Here, all the noble aspirations, unselfish loves, and spiritual longings that couldn't be fully realized during earthly life find their complete expression. The artist who dreamed of creating perfect beauty experiences the fulfillment of that vision. The philosopher who sought ultimate truth encounters direct knowledge. The parent who loved their children unconditionally experiences that love in its purest form. Blavatsky taught that time in Devachan is subjective rather than linear. A soul might experience what feels like centuries of blissful existence, while only decades pass in the physical world. The duration depends entirely on the amount of positive spiritual energy accumulated during the previous incarnation. Those who lived selflessly and cultivated higher consciousness enjoy longer periods of rest and rejuvenation. This teaching has profound implications for how we understand justice and reward in the universe. Devachan represents perfect compensation for earthly sufferings and limitations. The person who endured poverty while maintaining generosity of spirit experiences abundance. The individual who faced illness while helping others knows perfect health and vitality. However, Blavatsky warned against viewing Devachan as the soul's final destination. It's a temporary state of rest and assimilation, not eternal paradise. The soul must eventually return to physical incarnation to continue its evolution, carrying with it the refined qualities developed through its Devachanic experience. Chapter 3. The transition from Devachan back toward physical incarnation involves passage through what Blavatsky called the mental plane, where the soul's higher consciousness resides permanently. This plane represents the immortal aspect of human nature, the part that accumulates wisdom and experience across multiple lifetimes. Here, the soul reviews its entire evolutionary journey and begins preparing for its next incarnation. On the mental plane, consciousness exists as pure thought and spiritual energy. The soul has access to the complete record of all its previous incarnations, understanding the patterns, lessons, and karmic obligations that shape its ongoing development. This comprehensive review isn't judgmental but educational, allowing the soul to recognize what qualities need strengthening and what karmic debts require resolution. Blavatsky taught that this planning phase is collaborative rather than solitary. The soul works with advanced spiritual beings, what she sometimes called masters or elder brothers, who provide guidance in selecting the optimal circumstances for the next incarnation. These helpers aren't external authorities imposing conditions, but wise counselors who help the soul choose experiences that will best serve its evolutionary needs. The choice of parents, geographic location, social circumstances, and even physical characteristics isn't random, but carefully selected to provide the exact conditions needed for spiritual growth. Challenging circumstances aren't punishments, but opportunities for the soul to develop specific qualities like patience, compassion, courage, or wisdom. This process explains why souls often incarnate in family groups or with individuals they've known in previous lives. These relationships provide opportunities to balance karmic accounts, learn from each other, and support mutual spiritual development. The seemingly random encounters and connections in life often have deep spiritual significance rooted in this pre-incarnation planning phase. Chapter 4, Blavatsky's teachings revealed that the mental plane contains multiple sublevels, each corresponding to different degrees of spiritual development. Newly evolved souls operate from the lower mental levels, while advanced souls who have progressed through many incarnations function from higher mental planes. This hierarchy isn't based on judgment, but on the natural development of consciousness through experience. The lower mental levels deal primarily with concrete thought and intellectual development. Souls at this stage focus on learning to use the mind effectively, developing reasoning ability, and beginning to understand abstract concepts. Their between-life experiences emphasize integrating intellectual knowledge gained during incarnation and preparing for continued mental development. Higher mental levels involve abstract thinking, spiritual intuition, and direct knowing. Souls functioning from these levels have transcended the need for purely intellectual learning, and instead focus on developing wisdom, universal compassion, and spiritual insight. Their between-life periods involve communion with advanced spiritual beings and participation in cosmic evolutionary processes. The highest level of the mental plane connects with what Blavatsky called the causal body, the permanent vessel that carries the soul's accumulated wisdom across all incarnations. This body is built through countless lifetimes of spiritual effort and contains the essential learning and refined qualities that constitute the soul's true treasure. Advanced souls who have developed their causal body extensively may choose to forego the rest period in Devachan and immediately begin working to help other souls' development. These individuals often incarnate as spiritual teachers, artists, scientists, or reformers who bring new knowledge and inspiration to humanity. Their between-life periods involve intensive preparation for specific missions on Earth. Chapter 5. The process of returning to physical incarnation begins when the soul's accumulated positive karma from its Devachanic rest period has been exhausted, and the pull of unresolved karmic obligations draws it back toward material existence. Blavatsky taught that this isn't a forced expulsion from paradise, but a natural gravitational pull toward the experiences needed for continued evolution. The soul first enters what she called the astral plane, an intermediate realm between the purely spiritual dimensions and physical matter. The astral plane contains the templates and patterns that will shape the coming incarnation. Here, the soul begins developing its new emotional and energetic bodies, which will eventually interface with the physical brain and nervous system. This preparation phase involves detailed coordination with the souls who will become parents, siblings, and other significant relationships in the coming lifetime. Blavatsky taught that these connections are established on the astral plane before birth, explaining the immediate sense of familiarity or recognition we sometimes feel with certain individuals. The soul also begins forming its new personality structure during this phase. While the essential spiritual identity remains constant across incarnations, each lifetime requires a different personality suited to specific lessons and circumstances. This personality development involves selecting traits, tendencies, and characteristics that will best serve the soul's evolutionary purposes. Blavatsky emphasized that this process involves both choice and limitation. The soul voluntarily accepts restrictions on its memory and abilities to fully engage with physical existence. The limitations of human consciousness aren't design flaws, but necessary conditions for learning specific lessons that can only be mastered through direct experience in material form. The timing of physical birth is precisely coordinated with celestial influences that will support the soul's intended development. Astrology, according to Blavatsky, represents the science of understanding these cosmic influences and their role in shaping personality and life circumstances. Chapter 6. As the soul prepares for physical incarnation, it encounters what Blavatsky called the veil of forgetfulness, the necessary amnesia that allows full engagement with earthly experience. This forgetting isn't a limitation, but a mercy, enabling the soul to approach each lifetime with fresh perspective and genuine emotional investment in its circumstances. If souls retained complete memory of all previous incarnations, they would be unable to form authentic relationships or experience genuine growth through challenge. The mother-child bond couldn't develop naturally if the child remembered being the mother's sister in a previous life. Learning humility would be impossible if one remembered being a king or queen in past incarnations. However, Blavatsky taught that the veil isn't completely opaque. Intuition, conscience, natural talents, and immediate understanding of certain concepts represent leakage from the soul's accumulated wisdom. The sense of déjà vu, instant connections with certain people or places, and natural aptitudes all reflect the soul's deeper knowledge breaking through the necessary forgetfulness. Dreams often provide glimpses into the soul's broader identity and mission. During sleep, consciousness temporarily withdraws from physical limitations and can access higher planes of awareness. Prophetic dreams, spiritual guidance received during sleep, and symbolic messages all represent communication from the soul's higher aspects. Meditation and spiritual practice can gradually thin the veil, allowing increased access to the soul's accumulated wisdom while maintaining the necessary engagement with current incarnation responsibilities. Advanced practitioners may develop what Blavatsky called continuous consciousness, awareness that persists across waking, sleeping, and even death states. The ultimate goal of this process is conscious evolution, souls who retain full awareness of their eternal identity while effectively participating in physical existence. These individuals can serve as bridges between dimensions, bringing spiritual wisdom into material circumstances and helping other souls remember their own divine nature. Chapter 7. Blavatsky taught that not all souls follow the same pattern between incarnations. The duration and nature of the between-life experience varies dramatically based on the soul's level of development, the intensity of its earthly attachments, and the specific lessons it needs to learn. Understanding these variations helps explain the apparent inequalities and mysteries of human existence. Souls with strong material attachments may become earthbound after death, lingering in the lower astral planes near physical reality. These entities haven't properly separated from earthly concerns, and may attempt to influence living people or attach themselves to familiar locations. While not malevolent, they represent consciousness that hasn't successfully transitioned to higher spiritual planes. Conversely, highly developed souls may bypass extended rest periods in Devachan and quickly return to incarnation to serve humanity's spiritual evolution. These individuals often become spiritual teachers, reformers, or innovators who introduce new ideas and higher consciousness to human civilization. Their between-life periods focus on preparation for specific missions rather than personal rest and rejuvenation. Some souls choose group incarnations, coordinating their return to physical existence to work together on collective projects or to balance group karma. These soul groups may incarnate as families, communities, or organizations dedicated to specific spiritual, artistic, or humanitarian purposes. Their between-life planning involves complex coordination to ensure optimal timing and circumstances for their shared mission. Blavatsky also described souls who choose to incarnate specifically to help others evolve. These compassionate beings may accept challenging circumstances or difficult relationships to provide learning opportunities for other souls. Their sacrifice represents advanced spiritual service, demonstrating that apparent suffering may conceal profound spiritual purpose. The most advanced souls may choose to remain in higher spiritual planes as guides and teachers for incarnating souls, forgoing further physical incarnation to serve from non-physical dimensions. These masters or elder brothers maintain contact with Earth to guide humanity's spiritual evolution while operating from realms of expanded consciousness and universal perspective. Chapter 8. The relationship between individual soul evolution and cosmic evolution forms a central aspect of Blavatsky's teachings about between-life existence. She taught that individual spiritual development serves larger evolutionary purposes, with each soul's progress contributing to the advancement of human consciousness as a whole. During between-life periods, souls participate in what Blavatsky called the group soul consciousness of their species and planet. Individual experiences and learnings are shared with the collective, enriching the overall wisdom available to incarnating souls. This explains how knowledge and capabilities can appear to advance globally, rather than just individually. The timing of incarnations follows cosmic cycles that support different types of learning and development. Blavatsky described vast periods when conditions favor material development, balanced by eras emphasizing spiritual advancement. Souls choose incarnation timing to align with cosmic conditions that support their specific evolutionary needs. Between-life existence also involves participation in planetary spiritual work. Advanced souls may contribute to environmental balance, support the development of new species, or help guide geological and climatic changes that affect Earth's habitability. This cosmic service represents expanded responsibility that comes with spiritual development. The solar system itself provides different opportunities for soul development, with each planet offering unique learning environments. While Earth currently serves as a primary school for developing human consciousness, more advanced souls may incarnate on other worlds or in other dimensions to continue their evolution beyond human limitations. Blavatsky taught that the ultimate goal of individual evolution is reunion with the divine source while retaining individual consciousness. This achievement represents the culmination of countless incarnations and between-life developments, resulting in beings of godlike capability who remain connected to and serve the ongoing evolution of less developed consciousness. Chapter 9. The process of spiritual guidance during between-life periods represents one of Blavatsky's most profound teachings about the soul's journey. She described a vast hierarchy of evolved beings who dedicate themselves to helping other souls navigate their evolutionary path, providing assistance during the planning phases between incarnations. These spiritual guides aren't external authorities, but advanced souls who have completed their own human evolution and chosen to remain available to help others. They operate from deep compassion and wisdom, understanding the complete pattern of soul development because they've successfully completed the journey themselves. Each soul is assigned guides appropriate to its level of development and specific needs. Beginning souls receive guidance focused on basic moral development and learning to use human consciousness effectively. More advanced souls work with guides who understand complex karmic patterns and the subtleties of spiritual advancement. The guidance process is collaborative rather than authoritarian. Guides offer wisdom and perspective, but each soul must make its own choices about incarnation circumstances and evolutionary path. This respect for free will represents a fundamental principle governing spiritual evolution. Growth must be voluntary and self-directed to have lasting value. Blavatsky taught that some souls develop such strong connections with their guides that they can maintain conscious communication across incarnations. These individuals often become channels for spiritual teachings, bringing guidance from higher planes into physical reality to help other souls understand their evolutionary journey. The most advanced form of this relationship involves souls who work so closely with their guides that they become co-creators of evolutionary plans for other souls. These partnerships represent spiritual advancement, where individual and cosmic service become indistinguishable, with personal evolution serving universal purposes. This system of guidance explains the appearance of spiritual teachers and teachings throughout human history, providing a framework for understanding how divine wisdom enters human consciousness through incarnated souls who maintain conscious connection with higher spiritual planes. Chapter 10. Blavatsky's teachings about between-life existence include detailed descriptions of how souls process and integrate their incarnation experiences during the transition periods. This processing serves multiple purposes: releasing emotional attachments, extracting spiritual lessons, and preparing consciousness for continued evolution. The emotional processing phase occurs primarily in Kama-Loka, where souls review all the relationships and experiences of their recent incarnation. This isn't a judgment process, but a gradual understanding of how each experience contributed to spiritual development. Painful experiences are viewed from a higher perspective that reveals their evolutionary purpose. During this review, souls often seek reconciliation with individuals who shared difficult relationships during the incarnation. These meetings occur on astral planes where both souls can understand the spiritual purposes behind their earthly conflicts. Forgiveness becomes natural when the learning value of challenging relationships becomes clear. The lesson extraction phase involves identifying the specific qualities and wisdom gained through incarnation experiences. Each challenge overcome, each moment of compassion expressed, each insight achieved, becomes part of the soul's permanent treasure. This accumulated wisdom forms the foundation for planning future incarnations. Blavatsky taught that souls also review missed opportunities and incomplete learnings during between-life periods. Understanding where growth was avoided, or lessons left unlearned, helps in planning future circumstances that will provide opportunities to complete this development. This explains why certain themes or challenges may repeat across multiple incarnations. The integration process culminates in what Blavatsky called the causal record, a complete synthesis of the soul's evolutionary progress that becomes part of its permanent spiritual identity. This record influences all future incarnations and determines the soul's capacity for service and spiritual advancement. Advanced souls may spend considerable time during between-life periods helping other souls process their incarnation experiences, providing perspective and support for souls struggling with difficult learnings or traumatic experiences. Chapter 11. The advanced teachings of Blavatsky reveal that some souls develop the ability to consciously participate in their between-life experience, rather than simply being guided through it. This conscious participation represents a significant evolutionary achievement, marking the transition from unconscious to deliberate spiritual development. Conscious souls can direct their own between-life experiences, choosing specific planes of existence for development work, and selecting preparation activities for future incarnations. They may spend time in libraries of cosmic knowledge, attend teachings by advanced masters, or participate in planetary service projects during their rest periods. This level of development also allows souls to maintain awareness during the incarnation process itself. Rather than unconsciously forgetting their spiritual identity, they retain sufficient memory to consciously fulfill their incarnation purposes while effectively participating in human experience. Blavatsky taught that developing this conscious participation requires extensive preparation during physical incarnations. Meditation, spiritual study, selfless service, and the cultivation of detachment all contribute to building the spiritual strength necessary for conscious between-life existence. Some souls achieve such mastery that they can choose to incarnate immediately after death without extended rest periods, deliberately taking on challenging circumstances to serve other souls' development. These voluntary incarnations represent advanced spiritual service, with enlightened beings choosing to help humanity's evolution through direct participation in physical existence. The ultimate achievement in this development is what Blavatsky called conscious immortality, souls who transcend the cycle of unconscious death and rebirth while remaining available to serve evolutionary purposes. These beings can function equally well in physical and spiritual dimensions, serving as bridges between human consciousness and divine reality. Such advanced souls often work behind the scenes of human civilization, inspiring discoveries, supporting spiritual awakenings, and guiding humanity's overall development, while maintaining the freedom to assist from whatever dimension best serves their mission. Chapter 12. Blavatsky's comprehensive teachings about between-life existence culminate in the understanding that this knowledge isn't merely intellectual information, but practical wisdom for transforming current incarnation experience. Understanding where the soul resides between lives provides profound insight into the purpose and potential of present existence. Recognizing that current relationships, circumstances, and challenges were carefully chosen for specific evolutionary purposes transforms how we approach life's difficulties. What appears as random suffering or unfair limitation becomes meaningful when understood as part of a carefully planned curriculum for spiritual development. This perspective also reveals the profound responsibility that comes with incarnation. Every choice, every response to challenge, every moment of love or selfishness contributes to the soul's permanent record and influences future evolutionary opportunities. Physical existence becomes a precious chance to accelerate spiritual development through conscious participation in the soul's educational process. Blavatsky taught that developing this understanding during incarnation begins preparing consciousness for more effective between-life experience. Souls who understand the process can participate more consciously in their post-death journey, making better use of rest periods and planning more effective future incarnations. The practice of meditation, study of spiritual principles, and cultivation of detachment during physical life serves as training for between-life consciousness. These activities strengthen the soul's ability to function in non-physical dimensions and maintain awareness across dimensional transitions. Perhaps most importantly, understanding the soul's eternal journey cultivates the patience and persistence necessary for genuine spiritual development. Recognizing that evolution occurs across multiple incarnations prevents the discouragement that comes from expecting immediate spiritual perfection, and provides motivation for consistent long-term effort. The ultimate value of Blavatsky's teachings lies not in satisfying curiosity about the afterlife, but in transforming present existence into conscious participation in the soul's eternal evolutionary journey. This transformation represents the true hidden teaching, that understanding where we go reveals who we really are and why we're here. What aspect of the soul's journey between lives resonates most deeply with your own spiritual understanding? Have you experienced moments that feel like memories from between incarnations, or dreams that seem to offer glimpses into spiritual realms? Share your insights in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more explorations into the hidden teachings of spiritual masters throughout history.